Welcome to the Group Home Riches Podcast. If you have the desire to be your own boss, create your own schedule, and become financially free while at the same time helping people in need, then you've come to the right place. At grouphomeriches.com, we teach people exactly like yourself how to get started in the group home business. And on this podcast, you're going to hear their stories firsthand. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Group Home Riches Podcast. Today's guest is one of our coaching clients who just completed the program. She just got her first property, correct?
Yeah, I've gotten a couple of more since then as well. But yeah, I finished my first one.
We'll get into all the details here soon. And then this is just kind of the end of the program where we get to kind of hear your story. And then you also get to pick Andy's brain a little bit, or mine, and talk about real estate management techniques or anything that you have on your mind. And we just really want to talk scaling with you.
Perfect.
So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you guys for having me.
Andy, we have the founder of Group Home Riches on the call as well. Andy, how are you?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Excellent. Well, I can't wait to hear about not just one, but a couple properties and kind of your goals and everything like that. But before we get into that, why don't you just give a little bit of introduction? Where are you from? What were you doing before this? And what even brought you to Group Home Riches in the first place?
Perfect. Well, okay. My name is Megan. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I live in Atlanta now, but my career, and I still do practice, I'm an attorney. I graduated from University of Michigan Law School. And so I did big law for a while. I've now transitioned to practice in-house. So the hours are a little bit better. But here I am now doing group homes and things of that nature. And so what led me to do the group homes, I have an organization called Live Like Mike Homes. But prior to that, October 14th, 2021, I had started an LLC named Megan Giles LLC. And I had the vision and the dream of working on this real estate business with my brother, Michael. We were just going to buy a bunch of houses, rent them out, renovate it. You know, everything that you've seen online that people do, we wanted to get involved and we wanted to do that. Unfortunately, October 17th, only 3 days after our vision, he was killed in a car accident. So Michael, at the age of 24, had passed away in Fort Myers, Florida. So we never got to live out our dreams of doing real estate together. And so for a couple of years, I really just grieved and just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And so I would say maybe last year I started doing real estate. You know, I started doing like the fix and flips and things of that nature, but it just was not turning out the way that I wanted it to turn out. It was just mistake after mistake, issue after issue. And it just got to a point where I was like, you know, why am I doing this? I was like, I was supposed to be doing this with my brother. I wanted to do it with my brother, but it wasn't panning out. And so December, I'm very spiritual. And so I always pray into the new year. And so in December, January, I was praying and I was asking God for guidance. I was like, this has not turned out the way that I wanted to turn out. You know, I had gotten family members involved and it just was not turning out right. And I was like, you know, I did this for Michael. Like, this was our dream. Like, why isn't it turning out the way it's supposed to? And I could hear a voice say, you're not honoring me the way that I wanted to be honored. And so I was like, okay, how am I going to honor him? How am I going to do this? And so somehow, I don't know what I Googled. I don't know what I was doing. You guys popped up. And I know I've heard you and Andy say all the time, sometimes it takes like 7 touches, 7 interactions to get people to buy it. I think I bought the course within 7 seconds because I was like, this is what Michael was saying. This is what I needed to do. So I bought the course, and then you all was having a New Year special, and it came out to do the website and the coaching. And I was like, you know what, sign me up. I'm going to do this. And so I signed up. December, January. So January, I really just did my marketing. By February 1st, I had a duplex. I had a landlord was like, I want to rent to you. You can do your program out of my home. So February, I did that. March, I reached out to more landlords. I had 2 landlords say, yes, you can come and do what you're doing in my homes as well. And then funny enough, yesterday, an apartment complex, or last week, an apartment complex called me and said, we found you on the internet. We'll give you several of our units. You make us a deal, you make us an offer, and you can do what you're doing inside of our apartment. So It's been a whirlwind. It's been crazy. I've only been doing this for a couple of months and it's just been amazing. The doors that have just been swinging open. For years, I was struggling, or for at least a year, I was struggling doing the fix and flips. And when I finally started honoring Michael the way that he wanted to be honored, every door has swung open. And so that's where I am right now, just rocking and rolling, as you say, Brandon, rocking and rolling, doing these group homes.
Talk about a powerful why.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
kidding. Sounds like your brother's watching out for you.
Yeah. Exactly.
What an amazing way to honor
Brandon, can I make a quick comment?
Yeah, you make as many as you want.
Yeah. So, and I'm not necessarily just talking to you. I'm talking to, everybody that's listening to this. If you go back and listen to all of these podcasts, the one common theme is that the people that are successful have a real why, and it's a big why. You've got to have something that's really pushing you. And everybody listening to this, you just heard what she said. So I just want to reiterate that.
Now, did he want to get into this space, or was that what he was kind of veering towards?
So Michael wanted to do real estate with me. We had to figure out what we wanted to do, but this has been a good transition because after he had passed away, we already knew this about him, but he was such a giver to the point where I think I was like, you're doing too much, Michael. Like it's going to hurt you. But he was the type of person who would give his shirt to somebody if they needed it. He would give his last to everyone. And so he would have loved to do something like this. So while he didn't have the chance to do it here on earth, obviously he's guiding me above, but he was the type of person who was just constantly giving back to his community. He was such a big influence on his friends that several people got his name tattooed on them, pictures of them tattooed. His best friend had a child and named her after him. So he just made a huge impact. And, this is why this has been going so well for me.
Wow. Well, what an awesome way to honor him and
Yeah, thank
continue
you.
his legacy.
Thank you.
So you were interested in real estate. So
Mhm.
that's another common theme that we see. We see a
Yeah.
lot of folks, they want to help people, but they also are interested in real estate and escaping the rat race. And real estate is one of those common things to get into, right? But
Mhm.
it's another common theme that comes up is you try all those other strategies and me and Andy completely understand. She said it didn't go out how I wanted it to go out.
Yeah.
Andy, does it ever go the way that it was planned in real estate? We will hear a few stories from Andy
Right. I'm
when
sure
we get back.
he's had some bad deals as well.
Oh man, we've learned that everything's going to cost about twice as much as you think it is and take
Yes.
about 3 times as long
Oh
as you
my
think it should
gosh.
be. So,
Yes.
did you complete any fix and flips? And you were only doing it for about a year, you said, right?
Yeah, so I actually live in one of the houses that I did the fix and flip. And it's so funny that sometimes I get upset and I'm like, man, this didn't work out the way it's supposed to. I was a part of an investment group and people weren't managing the money the way that they were supposed to. So we're about to lose all the houses. And so I was complaining to my dad. I was like, oh, this didn't work. But as soon as I transitioned to do this, I'll tell you this, Brandon, the houses that we thought were going to fail and the houses that, I was going to lose my money, they now have to give us these houses. So we're taking these houses at cost and we're having so much equity in the houses so they don't have foreclosures on their record. And so just another powerful thing that's happening in my life in 2024 that while it didn't go the way that it was supposed to, when I transitioned and I started doing the right thing, everything started falling back in place. So those 2 homes that we will be taking over actually by the end of this month or early next month, we're going to make those into group homes as well. So it turned out to be better than expected, but man, did I have to go through the pains of that for a good year.
So it was a group of investors. How many people?
It was about 5 of us. It was 5 of us, and we were all on different properties. This one, the house that I'm standing in right now, was one of the houses that I did. But, I was able to do it. I fixed it up, refinanced it, and then I moved into it because my lease was out. And then we had a couple of more projects and stuff like that. Some of those houses I wasn't involved in, some of them I were. But it's a group of 5 of us. Obviously, we're no longer partnered together, but it still ended up turning out okay for me.
Did you all pool your money together and go in on the properties equally, or was it just kind of 5 people
going along the journey together and helping each other out?
5 people really going along with the journey. So some people will invest in certain properties, some people invest in others. So we would have like 2 people on each property. And so although we were a group, 2 people would invest in the property and then they would have to fix it up, things of that nature. And so some of the properties that I invested on were one of the couple that just was not going well. My own personal house, the one that I was the lead on, I was able to get it done. I mean, there was really no issues, but the others that I had to work with just didn't turn out the way that it was supposed to. But, it happens.
Oh, it happens for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were some of the lessons that you learned from your first real estate endeavor?
One of the biggest lessons I think I learned was not to get family involved. And not to say my family is not mad at me or anything like that. But what I've learned is that I need to try it out before I pitch it to somebody else and say, yeah, give me your money. This will all work out, especially for my first time. And then just be really on it with the numbers, really learning what's going on. What are they doing at the house? Does this look right? I'll give you an example. This house that I was at, the HVAC system wasn't put in right. The ductwork was just on the ground. Like no one put the ductwork right. I didn't catch it. I didn't know what to look for. And I think that's what I'm learning is that, okay, let me pay attention to what people are doing, what people are saying, that if they do make a mistake or if something's not right, I can catch it.
Excellent. At least you learned it. So
Right.
you can see how if you combine those skills of being able to find off-market properties or properties at a discount and then fix them up, you don't necessarily need to be as competitive as the fix and flippers and the wholesalers because you have
Exactly.
this strategy to where you're going to cash flow. Even if you lease a property, you're still going to cash flow, right? Whereas
Exactly.
the fix and flippers, the wholesalers, people like me, we need to get those properties at, massive discounts and the numbers are pretty tight. So
Exactly.
maybe we can talk about that strategies to find off market properties and stuff like that towards the end of the call.
Yeah.
Andy, are you back?
I am.
We were talking about, I picked up that when Megan was talking about the fix and flips, how things didn't necessarily go as planned.
They never do.
I told you he was going to say that.
Yeah, they never do, but lessons learned.
They never do. The beauty of the group homes, it's actually very similar to lending money out. And what I mean by that is when you're trying to flip something and then go resell it, unless it's a completely crazy market like what we saw 2021, the properties have to be abso-freaking-lutely perfect, right? So unless you're stealing it, there's not much margin in these properties to make them absolutely perfect. You
Yeah.
got to have perfect foundation. You got to have perfect flooring. You got to have perfect electrical. Everything has got to be perfect. It's got to pass all of the inspections and everything else. Guess what? When you're buying a house to rent out and run it as a group home, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be
Yeah.
habitable.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. I was telling Brandon, I don't know if you were able to hear this part, but 2 of the houses that I did with the investor group, I'm going to take over and make those as group homes as well. And so by the end of April or early May, we'll be up to 5 group homes within a span of 5 months.
Is this becoming the new normal, Andy? Do people that just get 10 properties in the first year?
It's incredible. Yeah, I used to think that I was the godfather like 20 years ago. And then the next thing you know, Orlando comes on and Megan's coming on and everybody else. They're like, Andy, you weren't even working.
Yeah, we have some absolute rock stars in our community.
Yeah,
So,
big time.
are you in the school group, Megan?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, let's talk about kind of the details on how to get started, because a lot of people listening, they're probably in that analysis paralysis phase where they're not sure what to do in the beginning. Do I get the home? Do I get it set up? How do I find people? What license do I need to get? Why don't you talk about that in the beginning? Did you have any of those types of questions that were holding you back? And if so, how'd you overcome those?
Yeah, no, I'm the type of person who walks by faith and not by sight. And so I believe in just the power of your tongue, the power of manifestation, the power of putting things into the universe. And so when I first started out, I have a whiteboard and I will put on the whiteboard, I am so happy. Like I just erased it yesterday because I think I'm going to surpass that goal and I have to update it. But I had in January, I'm so happy I have 7 group homes by the end of 2024. As we
Love
know, I'm moving faster than that. And
Yeah.
so I think the very first step is just putting out what you want into the universe, and the universe will deliver. And so I always tell people positive thoughts, positive outcomes. If you have a negative tongue and saying, oh, this won't work, this is hard, this is that, the universe is going to give you exactly what you asked for. So I'm very clear, and I tell the universe exactly what I want. I want to cash flow. I want these group homes. I want to serve my community. I want to make a difference. And most importantly, I want to honor Michael. And so that was my first step, just putting it out into the universe. So my second step, of course, is marketing, making the name for yourself, networking. I did volunteer events. I went out and I made sure the community knew my story, knew who Michael was, and just hit the ground running, sending out emails, handing out flyers. You see my shirt, Live Like Mike, got the shirt. I was just out there hustling and doing it. And so I think that's your first step. For me, I just took a month. The month of January, I knew, okay, Megan, you have to make a name for yourself. Get out, let people know who you are, get face to face with people, make these meetings, do Zoom calls, do everything that you need to do. February, you'll get the house. Then you'll be able to fill up the house with the networking that you did. And so it all went a lot faster than I was anticipating, because by the end of January, I was already signing the lease. The lease started February 1st, but it still worked out. But I will say your first step is 2 things at the same time. What is your mindset? Get your mindset right. Put positive things out into the universe. Write down your goals and write it down as if it has already happened. A lot of people write is, I want this, I want that. No, I already have it. This is mine. This is what I have. This is what I want. And so that's your first step. Get your mindset right, and then start marketing, networking in your community.
That's a great point. I can tell sometimes when someone come to us and they frame their question as if, hey, this isn't going to work for me because of XYZ. What do I do? Don't buy the gold course.
Right.
Yeah, go buy a book. I recommend Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Andy likes Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? All those books that you're talking about, I mean, Think and Grow Rich, every single one of them, they're all amazing tools in the tool belt. And frankly, everything that Megan just described is exactly what these guys said to do in those books. Like, look, 20 years ago, I thought that I was special because I had come across these books. Here I am right now having a conversation with you. The reality is you are elite and you are special. But on the flip side of the coin, if people would just do what they tell you to do in the book and follow the steps, just like we tell people what to do in the gold course and everything else, the success will come. But you got to do this stuff. Most people won't do it. They'll just give up.
Can't have faith without works. So that was beautifully put, Megan.
Thank you.
So you did our coaching program and working with Coach Eric, correct?
Correct.
So you just outlined our ideal student, what they do in that first month. So we'll kind of show these steps a little bit. So before you started, had you begun your marketing already on your own, or did you start that after the first call?
I really probably started it. I think I started a little bit before the first call. And I think my first call was with Sunny. And
Correct.
Sunny just, laid it out for me. This is what you need to do. This is exactly what you like, all the first steps to get the ball rolling. And so I had done a little bit of it. And so Sunny was like, you're on it, Megan. Like, you've already gotten a little bit of a head start, but this is what I need you to do before you even speak to Eric. And so Sunny gave me some homework to do. And then once I started speaking with Eric, I ramped up on more marketing, speaking to more landlords, and getting my waiting list started.
Yeah. So she outlined our first coaching call assignment. And as you can see, this is pretty simple to do. You don't want to, you don't want to stop here, but
no, absolutely not.
Yeah. In the gold course, we tell you exactly what to do as far as building your contact list, which by that we mean social service organizations, nonprofits, places like that. And then just having one solid referral source. And by what we mean by that is, a Zoom call, you confirm, yes, they're working with these people that need housing. and the call goes well. All you need is okay to contact them in the future when you have a property. So a common thing that are holding people back is, oh, I don't have a home yet, so I can't start marketing, and then they just get stuck. And that's why we say, hey, no, go talk to these people first. Let them know you're getting a property. That way, when you get a property, you can fill it up like Megan did, right?
Exactly.
So roughly how many total contacts do you think that you have in your database, in your system?
I think when I first started, I had a little over 200, after I had my call with Sunny. I believe it's called Upwork. And I had someone put together a list for me just to get a little starting point. And
Yeah.
then I put together the rest of the list that I wanted. And so now I actually sent out a blast email 2 days ago, and I had about 165 people on that list. Some people, I've taken off or the emails bounced back, but now I have a solid, good amount of people. So much so my phone rings nonstop. I actually had a Google number and I just had it forwarded to my phone. But my phone was ringing so much, my phone would not send me the calls. I would see the missed calls, or some people would call me back and say, like, hey, I've been calling you. It won't go through. And so finally, I had to get just a separate line, just a completely separate phone. And my phone is ringing right now with people just calling me constantly. Actually, it's crazy. And so it got so busy. I had called one of my friends in Atlanta and I said, Obie, I need your help. Please come and join me in this business. He was like, I got you. I'm on board. And so now I have a business partner who helps me manage the houses and speak with the tenants and take some of these phone calls and things of that nature, because it became so much. And of course, I still work my full-time job as well. You could still manage it, but because I ramped up so quickly, I needed that partner to take off some of that burden. So once you send out those emails, trust me, they are calling you nonstop. I'm sending text messages out. I'm sending everything out, emails. So make that marketing list. The people will come.
Yeah. I'm showing the beginner's guide here in the course, which just breaks down everything that we're talking about. And you can do it on your own if you have time. And it's pretty time consuming to build that list and everything like that. So I love the fact that you outsourced that. You've already learned a great lesson in business, which is buying back your time.
Exactly.
And it sounds like you have what we call that operational manager role. It sounds like you have someone in that position already.
Yeah, exactly. And he does the same amount of work as I do as well. And so he sees the ins and out. He's out there. Like yesterday, we spent the afternoon just handing out flyers and things of that nature. And so like he's in it for the long haul. Like he wants to scale, he wants to do it. But I know I've listened to Idris on the podcast, who's also in Atlanta, who is amazing. But he reminds me of the Idris, and I'm the Genevieve, where I'm like, I want to help people. I'm super nice. I think people try to get over, and then he's the business guy. He's like, okay, here's the numbers. Here's what we're going to do. These are how, the rules of the house and things of that nature. So he's really taken on big role, and it's a really good mix.
Perfect. Andy, you kind of want to break down that relationship when we talk about the operational manager person and how key that is, especially when you're scaling fast like Megan?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way you got it set up and structured is absolutely perfect. Like you're focused on the marketing and you got him focused on, it sounds like, collections, day-to-day operations, things like that.
Mhm.
Without questions, your operations person needs to be a hard-nosed individual.
Yes.
Because look, when you're running this business, again, guys, it doesn't matter if you're running group homes, care homes, transitional homes, whatever you want to call them, or if you're literally just like I'm driving up right now to one of my buildings, it's just a regular rental property, right? It's got I think
Mhm.
90 units in there or something. As I always like to say, these people do not pay unless you make them.
Yeah.
So unless you have got individuals that are coming from good referral sources and you are set up as the representative payee, or you've got Salvation Army or whomever set up as the rep payee, you're taking 50-50 chance of getting paid, unless of course you are running it with a lot of focused intention. So I think the way you got it structured is absolutely perfect.
You did that very quickly.
Oh,
So,
yeah. I've learned. So I'm going to say this because I hope people don't make the same mistake that I did, but I was too nice. I think in the beginning, like for my first home, when I was moving people in, people are very, very bold. So the house that I have right now is right down the street from like a gas station. And so some of the guys would say, hey, can you just drop me off at the gas station really quickly? And so I was doing that. And I did it like maybe 2 or 3 times. And finally, I would get calls all the time from them. Hey, I got to go to the store. I got to go to Walmart. I got to do this. And it was as if they expected me to do this.
Yeah.
And finally, I was like, this isn't a part of this. I shouldn't have done that. Now I've gotten too friendly with you all because you're comfortable enough to ask me something like that. So when I brought Obie in, I was like, Obie, this is the issue. They keep asking for rides. They keep asking for this. They're very, very bold. Like they just do not care. And so one day, Obie and I were at the duplex and a guy walked up to him and was like, hey, can I get a ride? He was like, nah, I don't do stuff like that. And the guy was like, okay, and just walked away. And I was like, are you telling me it was that easy? This entire time I had given them the ride. And then when I finally said no, they were like, what happened? And Obie was like, you made the mistake of becoming too friendly. You cannot do this because people will take advantage of you. So everyone that's listening, please do not make the same mistake that I did. I got too friendly. I was offering too many services. You just can't do it. I got overwhelmed. And you need somebody like Obie just saying, no, we're not going to do that. Or no, you're not going to do that. We just don't allow it in this house.
Yeah. Quick comment also. You can learn a lot just by names. And if you go over and you start talking to the people at these behavioral health clinics and whatnot, the hospitals, they refer to these individuals as consumers, okay? Not as producers, but as consumers. What do consumers do? They take.
Yeah.
That's all they do. They take, they take, they take. They do not give, okay? And the reason why we are successful running group homes and why you are as well, Megan, is because you're giving. You're a producer. But what you're doing is you're giving to people that take, but you have to know how much to give. Otherwise, you'll give too much and they'll take too much and you'll wind up with nothing. So
and
it
they
sounds
have
like
no problem continuously taking. But at a certain point, I'm like, don't you have any self-respect of just saying like, I'm doing too much? They do not. I've learned very quickly, if you allow it, they would take as much as you give them.
That's absolutely true. Yep.
I learned that lesson. Luckily, it was the hard way through another person. When I first started in real estate, I worked in property management. And they weren't group homes, but it was low-income housing at a massive apartment complex. And the manager of the property was so nice. Like this old, almost hippie character she bended the rules so many times just because she was nice and friendly. And I never saw it work out in her favor, ever.
Never does.
I never saw her, okay, I'll let it pass this one time, but you have to do this. They would never do their end of the bargain. And she would always just get in trouble from management. So I luckily learned that via a third party.
Right. I wish I learned that very soon, but I did not. But I learned it now. So I know going forward, as I scale, I just can't allow that stuff to happen.
And I know we have a lot of people listening that they do have the caretaker personality. They are here to help people. They might not have it in them to be hard-nosed and tell people no. We have a lot of social workers and people that work at group homes and in the medical field. Andy hit it on the head. Look, if you don't have that hard-nosed driver personality, very direct, this take it or leave it type of personality, then, go find your Obie.
Yeah, 100%.
And realistically, the longer you play this game, the more, if you have the perseverance to stick it out, you will realize that you have to become that Obi-Wan Kenobi type individual.
Right.
I like that.
Exactly.
I like that.
Literally. I've learned very quickly. Now I'm with him. I'm like, no, because I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I was just like, you guys have drained me. And it was my first home. I was like, there's just no way I'm doing this. I can't continue doing this and be this exhausted every single night. I'm just not going to do it. So I learned very quickly that my tolerance, they've blown past it. I just can't do it anymore.
So there's a couple other things that are kind of interesting when you think about this. So I think individuals that do naturally, let's say they're predisposed to being more caretaker types, it will drain all of that energy out of them. But there's other people, that's just their natural predisposition. And those are the people that you really want to hire to come work for you and be those people. Because to be totally honest with you, like a lot of those guys, Brandon knows them. I've got them that work for me. They actually gain a lot of energy acting like that.
Yes.
It's so interesting. It's kind of like introverts versus extroverts, same
Yeah.
sort of concept. But that's really who you want to hire, to come and be that individual for you.
Exactly. And Obie tells people Obie's Nigerian. And he's like, it's the Nigerian in me. He was like, we just don't
Dude,
play
I love
those
that.
type of games. So he definitely has installed it in me as well, where he's like, we're not playing these games. Like, we just can't do it. So you definitely need an Obie on your team because it just cannot run with just a Megan. You need that balance.
Brandon, what would be really cool is maybe in a couple of months we do another podcast, and Megan, maybe you could get Obie to come on.
He would love it. He would love to tell people how he tells people no every day.
I think that a lot of our clients would greatly benefit from listening to somebody like him as well.
Yes.
And I try to be both, so you can tell if you go back 10 years ago when I was writing a bit of a balance. So you got to be a little bit nice, but you also got to be a little bit tough.
Exactly.
We have an Obie on our team, Andy. So the gentleman that built our web platform and the website development system and everything like that, he's just so direct. I love it.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk a lot.
And he's Nigerian as well.
So he was able to build the registration platform that you use to register your domain and everything like that. And he was just so quick. He's like, all right, this is what you need to do. I'll do it all. It's going to be blank amount. And we've just been working with him for years. I love working with him because he's just so direct.
And Brandon, even though it's a little bit off topic, you should tell everybody how long we spent and how much money we spent before we found him. Just trying to get that one thing done where it would automatically point the name servers.
Yeah. Have you done a website in the past before, Megan?
No, I have not. You guys is the first one where I made a website through you guys.
Yeah. So we needed to automate the system. Did you go through this or are you using like HostGator or GoDaddy or anything like that?
Whatever it was in your guys' system, I just followed that to a T.
And how long did it take for you on the website development side of things?
Gosh, maybe like a minute. And literally you just fill in the information. I don't know if it even took that long.
Exactly. Everybody else that deals with GoDaddy and HostGator, it's a constant back and forth headache. So we had our guy build this out for us. And I think you were looking probably at least a year, right, Indy?
Yeah, it was at least a year, tens of thousands of dollars, talking to all different consultants and this, that, and everything else. And it was like the top priority on our list. I remember, Brandon, you and I used to sit down once a week and talk about where we were with this. And you're like, dude, I don't think we're going to be able to get this thing done. I remember we talked to that company up in Canada. And then one day you stumbled across Tosin and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was so direct. It was perfect. He knew exactly what we were looking for. He's like, I'll do it all. This is what we need to do. Give me 2 weeks. Cool.
Right.
And we've been working with him ever since. So yeah, everybody needs an Obie on their team.
Right.
So this brings up another point that I wanted to talk to you about, maybe give you a couple tips, right? Because you have the blessing of having a full-time job.
Yes.
It's full-time, right? How many hours per week are you working at your full-time?
Probably more than 40, but it just depends, but probably more than 40.
So think about what your life's going to be like when you don't have to do that full-time. You're scaling, you're outsourcing. This is stuff that business owners should be doing anyways if they want to have an actual business.
Right.
The cool thing about you having the full-time job is you're forced to outsource, right?
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
you can't be doing all the day-to-day activities. It's almost lucky for you because a lot of business owners get trapped. They start doing all the day-to-days. They answer all the phone calls. They're doing everything. And then they have a lot of trouble relinquishing that control.
Yeah.
So you brought up, the way I build businesses is I want to learn how to do something and then immediately outsource it ASAP. So,
right.
And the thing with it's not just group homes or real estate, it's really every kind of business, right? So this is one of the issues that it seems like you're having. It's a good issue. Your phone's ringing off the hook, right?
Right.
So this is check these guys out. And you can find your own virtual assistants to do this, but this is a really cool company that a lot of people in real estate use where you give them the script and they're there for you 24/7. So they can be filtering those calls so you're not losing any leads.
Oh, wow. Perfect. And then they'll tell me who's calling and what they want.
You set the system up or whatever you
Hmm.
want them to do. So maybe you set up 5 to 10 questions to kind of filter people out.
Hmm.
What are you looking for? What's your budget, et cetera, whatever you want.
Right.
Then they can just pass on the leads to you.
Wow. That's amazing.
And, another really good example of outsourcing is what you learned. You probably started to build your list on your own and then
Hmm.
realized how long it was going to take, right?
Right.
Yeah. So then you just went and found someone on Upwork to do it, right? Um,
Exactly.
Luckily, the group home business model is pretty simple. So that's one thing that you can outsource. Eventually, you can get into Google ads and things like that. Are you running ads?
No, not really.
So
I
that's another.
do like next door, the ones that give you like a free trial with the ads. That's what
uh
I've done, but I have not paid for any ads.
That's another thing that you can outsource. Do you have house supervisors?
You know, I didn't appoint anyone as house supervisors, but I realized very quickly they'll appoint themselves as house supervisors. So technically, I do. I have a guy in
What a
all the
great
houses that report to me every single day. I got the text message this morning. Megan, everything is well at the house. And I'm like, okay, thank you. So it was very easy for me. Again, just another blessing where I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to offer anything. They were just like, I want to make sure that you're okay, Megan. And so I've had guys just step up and just be my eyes and ears for me.
I love that.
That's great. That makes Obie's life even easier,
Much
right? So
easier.
if you got a house supervisor that's handling the house, if there are issues, it gets escalated to Obie. Eventually, you want it to be kind of where in Andy's position to where all you're doing is looking for the real estate and maybe doing
Absolutely.
the networking with the organizations and things like that.
I will
Exactly.
say, Brandon, I am over the last probably month and a half, I've become a lot more actively involved in collections because we are seeing a lot more NSF payments and,
Hmm.
just flow pays and stuff like that. So people do tend to react to me, probably, Megan, the same way they react to Obie.
Yeah.
It's like if I make a phone call and I'm like, hey, where's the rent? They'll actually they'll actually go pay it. But
Right.
some of these other people, not as much. But yeah,
So,
I think ideally you want to be looking for the real estate.
Right.
do you have any real estate questions for Andy, Megan?
I have two questions, one about real estate and the other about management. I know you guys have several homes. How are you guys staying organized in the sense of I'll get like 10 calls a day and each person wants a different room. And then sometimes I forget, okay, which room did they want? And then I'll give some rooms to someone else. And they're like, well, I wanted that room. So how are you guys just keeping track of everything and just
Yeah.
staying organized?
Okay. So number one, I am of the I am of the belief that every company out there, big companies, small companies, medium-sized enterprises, they're all loosely functioning disasters. Like that's the reality. So no matter how many books you read and guys on YouTube and everything else spinning up this garbage about tightly run machine, blah, 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 blah. There's always, especially when you're growing, there's
Yeah.
always stuff that slips through the cracks. Okay.
Yes.
Now that being said, what we do is we use Appfolio to manage like all of our properties. And then
Okay.
now this is good and this is bad. The tenants can put in work orders on Appfolio if you allow them to. Again, that's
Oh.
got pros and that's got cons. Also on Appfolio, you have guest cards. So when leads come in, you can look at your leads and then you can assign those leads to certain properties and to
Mhm.
certain rooms. What we do is we label the rooms. I think we talked about this in the gold course. Room 1A, room
Mhm.
1B, or like 1A, 1B, 1C, if you have like 3 beds in there, and then room 2. Now, how do you know which room is room 2? I mean, once you have 20, 30, 40 houses, it becomes a little bit difficult, right? Because
Right.
and no matter how much of a genius you are, there's only about, 14 things that you can really remember and recall at any given point in time. Because all those 14 things each have trees underneath them. So anyways, that's kind of how we do it. And then what we do is we've got like a Google Docs Excel sheet of
Mhm.
all of the work orders. And that's how we manage them and make sure that everything gets completed. Again, theoretically, right? I mean, there always has to be somebody to oversee these things.
Right.
So everything, like we said at the very beginning, just like the flipping houses, everything's always easier said than done. The
Yeah.
beautiful thing about the group home business is that there's a huge demand for it and there's not
Yeah.
much supply. So if you're like, hey, I'm willing to work, you get in there and you, create the supply and you're going to be able to keep your properties filled. But again, there's going to be a lot of challenges along the way and you got to be willing to work, at least until you have enough of them where you can hire somebody to oversee it.
Exactly. And then my real estate question is, like yesterday, I was out handing out flyers at an extended stay, just telling people there, like, here's another option. But I was looking at the extended stay and I was like, I want something like this. Like, I would take better care of it. The people here would have better conditions, things of that nature. And so one day I'll scale up to that. But what do you think that I should be working on right now to get to the position to buy a building or a motel, an extended stay like that, and live like Mike Holmes out of something like that?
Yeah, this is what I would do. Number one, get your group home business up and going because that thing's going to produce a tremendous amount of cash flow. So that's awesome. After it's producing a bunch of cash flow, start using that cash flow, saving it up to buy real estate and try to get discounted real estate. Again, you don't have to make that discounted real estate perfect afterwards. It just needs to cash flow. And then let's say you get 10, 20 of those things built up. I mean, your cash flow is going to be enormous.
Right.
Chances are just from your cash flow, you'll have enough for a down payment. But then what you basically do, you might start trading out 2, 3, 4 little homes for a small 20, 30, 40 unit motel property or something like that.
Right.
And, but all this stuff takes time. The timing also has to be there as well. I mean, frankly, I probably was in the business for, going on almost 20 years before I bought my first large building. So yeah, it takes a long time. Some people can do it faster and you can do it faster with other people's money.
Right.
I decided I do have partners, but I don't have a bunch of partners. So some people will syndicate and, maybe they own like 5 or 10% of the building. So I didn't do it like that, but that's another way of doing it. But again, I think the best thing to do, get a bunch of these group homes up and going, cash flow the living heck out of them, use the money to buy real estate, and then wait for the government to continue printing a bunch of money, which unfortunately they're going to do.
Right.
And as they do that, and eventually they start lowering rates, and I don't know when that'll be, but it'll probably happen sometime before 2030, you're going to see another huge run up in asset values. And so those little houses that you can buy in Atlanta now for discounted, I don't know, 140,000, you push it out 6, 7, 8, 10 years, those things are probably going to be worth 250, 300, 350, something like that. And
Exactly.
boom, you got, you might have paid them off by then. So if you have 4 of them paid off and each one's worth $300,000, there's 1.2 million and you go put it down on a dilapidated building. And next thing you know, you got 60 motel units. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much how it works. Again, it all sounds so easy to do and everybody thinks that they can do it in a year or two. This stuff takes time. You got to let it season.
Awesome.
I got a couple things to add to that. And Andy, I know you're kind of tight on time. Do you have any parting words for the folks?
No, not really. I'm going to run off. I think more than anything else, guys, if, like I mentioned before, I'm seeing a lot of slow pays at the apartment unit level, at the housing level. But the group home stuff is really, really, really steady because, again, you're not charging exorbitant rents. You're charging, $500, $600 a month or whatever. And most of the money that's coming in is government guaranteed money. So I think it's going to be a great business going forward. We already know that. And as the economy worsens, it's going to be like owning a pawn shop. It's going to be a really good place to be.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, if you're interested in doing this, listen to Megan, go take action. It's all easier said than done, but, buy the course, start taking action, and the success will come as long as you put in the work.
Absolutely.
Anyways, hey, Megan, awesome meeting you.
Great meeting you.
I'm going to jump, but yeah, maybe we can do another one of these here in the next couple of months and we'll get Obie on the phone. That'd be fun.
Absolutely.
All right, y'all. Bye-bye.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thank you. So great question on that. I had a couple things I wanted to add. Andy brought up using other people's money. If you want to acquire an apartment complex or a hotel or something like that, and you don't have the cash for it, which most people don't, right?
Right.
I don't think you have millions in cash just laying around collecting dust and you're looking for places to put it, right?
No, exactly.
Go find people that do have that problem.
Yeah.
So it's few and far between, but if you start going to these real estate networking events, you'll find other, landlords that you could partner with, wholesalers that you can get deals from, contractors, rehabbers, things of that nature, right? So not just this, but you can piece together your whole team by networking locally. But
Yeah.
you'll also find those private lenders that are looking to put their money to work. And that's how you can use other people's money. It's going to be tough to get, a bank loan or anything like
Right.
that. One thing you can use it's a little higher level for most people, but if you go to the important document section, you guys can see there's a ton of information in here.
Yeah.
But this is a sample business plan. This is a pitch deck that Andy used to basically partner with a local credit union.
Oh, okay.
When you're pitching your idea, maybe to a local bank or to an investor, you can kind of use this as a template.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to take a look at that.
So there's that. Also, when you were doing the fix and flips, were you net marketing to find motivated sellers, or how did you find the deals?
Yeah. So we have a guy on the team who is a wholesaler. So he found all the deals and things of that nature. So he was tasked with doing that.
Are you still working with him?
In the sense of I would get properties from him, but we wouldn't do like a project together. So, we didn't end on bad terms. So I always told him, listen, when I'm ready, I told him about the whole motel idea. And I said, when I'm ready, you're going to be the guy I go to find this deal for me. And he said, absolutely.
Cool. So I work on the acquisition side of things with
Mhm.
Andy. So this is what we did on a recent apartment complex that we found for him. You can learn how to wholesale, but
Right.
instead of, flipping the contract, you're basically just doing those techniques to find the properties that you want.
Yeah.
So with this, I'm sending you all these links in chat, by the way.
Perfect.
But this is a service that we use to find a mailing list or, a call list. So you can pull up in your area, properties that are over blank amount of square feet that are maybe facing foreclosure or behind on
Mhm.
mortgage payments. So it's the motivated seller idea, but you can apply that to hotels and multifamily buildings. So
Perfect.
what we did on the last apartment complex, we found an apartment complex that was in foreclosure. It was an absolute nightmare. So Andy took on a massive project,
Right.
but we were actually able to find the owner's contact info, just give him a call and be like, hey, we see you're facing foreclosure. Would you be interested in avoiding foreclosure and selling us the property? We can close in 30 days.
Wow.
That's one way if you want to find that apartment complex or multifamily quickly, right? Maybe
Right.
probably have to give up some equity somehow to find the capital. But
Mhm.
as you know from talking with these referral sources, those are in big demand, right? The
Right.
single units, a lot of people, they do want that single unit. Not everybody wants to live in shared housing. So
Exactly.
you see the demand for it.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking about. I'm like, oh my gosh, all these people asking for efficiencies. And so I was like, I got to figure out how to get that, or just single moms. I get a lot of calls from women who have like 3 kids. And I'm just like, I'm so sorry, it just would not work. It's not safe for them to be in this house with this many other adult women and things of that nature. And so I'm like, my goal is to get these efficiencies.
Yep. And that's huge. You could take advantage of all of the positives about multifamily, right? So you're not going
Mhm.
to be cash flowing as much as the shared housing compared to
Right.
single units, but you're going to have a ton of doors at one spot. You're basically outsourcing the marketing because these organizations have so many people on their waiting lists, right? Have you asked any of the bigger organizations that question, how many people they have on their waiting list?
Oh, yeah. They're like thousands of people. There's a system called, I think it's like HMIS or something like that, but it's like the homeless registry that there are like, there's several thousands of people on this list that just need housing. And so it's just, there's a ton of people out there.
Yeah. So you're not going to have to hire a leasing team or anything like that. Right.
Exactly.
And with the vouchers or whatever programs they're in, that's going to help you with on the collection side, because
Exactly.
all of it or a portion of it is going to be coming from Uncle Sam.
Right.
And when those checks dry up, it is time to head for the hills.
Right.
Well, man, amazing story.
Thank you.
I love doing these calls because you're fresh off the beginner's journey, right?
Mhm.
It's not like you're savvy investor who's totally removed from the day-to-day activities and those beginning steps. So folks out there that are learning, I guys want you to listen to this 2-3 times and pay attention to what Megan did in the beginning. And I say the beginning, you're still in the beginning. It's only
Right.
been 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, 4 months.
I know you have the full-time job. Is the goal to get out of that and do this full-time, or what's that look like?
I struggle with that every day in the sense of who I represent. I'm a Black woman and there's just not a lot of Black women attorneys. And I'm in a position where, one, I can still make a difference, but also I can pave the way that for people that look like me, especially just like the people before me have paved the way. So my goal isn't to stay in the legal profession forever. I do plan to step away at a certain point, but I do want to put in enough time where I make the difference and I pave the way for the generation after me, just like the generation before me has paved the way. So I'm in it for now. And once I feel like I've done enough and I did my service and I made sure that people know that Black women specifically are capable of doing this work, I'll step away.
That's awesome. So you're not in the position to where it's a major motivating factor to, escape the rat race. You actually enjoy what you're doing in the day
I
to day.
enjoy it. I enjoy it. And so I was talking to somebody and they put it perfectly. They said, this is your ministry. And that's just the perfect way to say it. This is my ministry. I'm doing it because I love it. I do it because, I want to honor my brother and I do it to make a difference.
I love it. How many properties would you have to kind of replace your day-to-day income or somewhat close to it?
Yeah. So if I was doing it by myself, because Obie and I are now partners, so we split everything 50-50. But let's
Mhm.
just say, for example, if I was doing it by myself, I could probably replace it in 5 homes. If I had 5 homes. So, right now we're about to do, I think we have 3 right now. We're about to get 2 more. So I would have been able to replace it, but it just wasn't doable just doing it by myself with working. But I would say as soon as we get to the 9th, 10th house, I definitely would have, replaced my income. And maybe before then, because some of these properties cash flow just a little bit better than others.
Amazing. I love to hear it. So, guys, let that sink in with some hustle, extremely positive attitude,
Yes.
following the system. In roughly 6 months, you could be replacing are you a lawyer or what would be the title?
Yep. Yep. I'm a lawyer.
Replacing a lawyer's salary with maybe a few hours of work per day.
Exactly. It's the dream.
Right? But
It is definitely the dream.
I doubt you only work 40 hours in the
No,
day to day, right?
yeah, it's a lot more, I practice labor and employment law and I'm the only labor and employment attorney for my company. So it's a lot of work. It's fun though, because it is dealing with drama and stuff with employees, kind of like the whole tenant situations with group homes and stuff like that. So I do it day to day in my job as well. So, it's still fun stuff most days.
Beautiful. It's been 4 or 5 months. What's the business look like in a year? And then long term, what are you shooting for?
Yeah, I think the business will look like in a year, getting more properties. I want to actually own the properties. So we'll own 2 of them. And then, like for right now, we'll own 2 of them and then the rest we're renting. But I think our goal is to own more. And so by the end of the year, we want 10 or more properties. I know my goal at first was 7, but it's more realistic the way that we're moving to get 10 properties. And I think long term really is to get the message out for Live Like Mike Homes and what we're doing, I want to branch off to Florida back home. Michael was a Florida boy through and through. And so he loved Florida. So my goal is to go back to our home city of Jacksonville, Florida, and do the exact same thing and, spread out there as well. So I would say we'll make our way to Jacksonville, Florida in a couple of years once we have everything running smoothly. And I can trust that, we've done everything right. Jacksonville will be our next step.
Love it. Well, when you hit that goal, which may probably be sooner than you think, right?
Right. Yeah, most definitely.
We'll have to have you on for a part 2 with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Absolutely. He'll love it.
Awesome. Well, let the folks know where they can find you, anything you want to plug, social media, website, anything like that. And we'll put that in the description as well. And any parting words for the folks out there?
Yeah, you guys can reach me. You can check out my website, livelikemikehomes.com. But you can also reach me at livelikemikehomes@gmail.com or 404-907-2108. All my information is on the website. And so my last parting words is, guys, go for it. Use your community. My parents were a great factor in helping me do this. They motivated me. It was a lot of long nights. And so I want to thank my girlfriend for, always helping out around the house and making sure that I was able to live out my dreams. And then just having my community come, for example, like Obie, who stepped up to the plate to help me get my dream up and running. So I said, get started, use your community, keep the faith, and have a positive mindset, and it'd be nothing but success.
Couldn't have said it better. Folks, if you're just stumbling on us, brand new, wondering what this is all about, head to grouphomeriches.com, sign up for our free course. It's a 5-part course that'll be emailed to you where we just break down those basic questions that you're all wondering, what license do I need to get? How do I start? What does outsourcing mean? How do you get paid? How do you manage? Stuff like that. We have our gold course. At the time of recording, it's only $199, and that is a one-time fee. And as you can see, we almost put too much information in here. Just the beginner's guide and email us questions, and you'll be rocking and rolling if you take action. And then we have coaching services and everything like that as well. So you can email us, Brandon@grouphomeriches.com or Andy@grouphomeriches.com if you have any questions. We also have our school group. Megan, have you been active in here, or I know you're busy, so you probably don't.
Yeah. So I'm definitely active in it. I made my post once I secured the first home. So I actually need to make another post to say I got 2 more homes. But yeah, I'm always checking it. People give good ideas. Everyone is always dropping gems. And so it's a really good networking source. And so you can learn a lot just from the school group.
Yep. Network with folks like Megan, Idris. A lot of the people you've heard on our podcasts are very active in here, as well as the Group Home Riches team. Honestly, you could probably learn everything you need to know just from this school group, and it's only $10 a month. So if you're on a tight budget, cancel your Netflix subscription, get in school. Netflix is mostly garbage anyway. So
right. Good learning tool right here.
All right. Well, Megan, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for taking what we teach and running with it. We love to see folks like you that just come in, take action, have a positive mindset, and just absolutely crush it. It literally keeps me and Andy motivated and fueled to keep doing this. So thank you.
Thank you for making it easy. It was very, very easy, very useful, and very affordable. So everyone out there, please buy the course. You can do it. So thank you, Brandon and Andy. I truly appreciate it.
All right. We look forward to doing the part 2 soon.
Absolutely.
See if you break that record. Let's do 15 in a year. Let's see.
Right. Okay. That's the goal now.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, Brandon.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.